All right, hey, welcome back. Happy New Year. Wasn't expecting to do this unboxing in January 2022, but here we are. The second half of 2021 kind of got away from me. If you were watching my Twitter or my Instagram, you probably know that we had an opportunity to send a Berenstain Bears film strip that was donated by Devlin Maxon to Mike Berenstain, the son of Stan and Jan Berenstain, who were the author-illustrators of the wickedly successful Berenstain Bears children's book series that Mike is now writing and illustrating. I had an opportunity to take one of those film strips and clean it up and do whatever it is I do and send it to him, because it turns out that he didn't have a copy of it. And it was this adorable sort of documentary style thing where somebody went in and did an interview with his parents in their studio, which was in their home. Just a lot of cool period photography and illustrations from the books and B-roll photographs of the books and photographs of them working on the books and candid shots and Stan just being goofy. It was one of those things where the original film strip was pretty scratched up and could use a lot of work to restore it, and it ended up taking a lot longer than I thought it would because I wanted to do a good job. I always want to do a good job, but the desire was like 100 times more because I knew that this was going to go to Mike Berenstain. His parents have passed away. My parents have also passed away, so I empathize. I can imagine what it must feel like to have some artifact pop up with footage of your parents that you didn't know existed, So I wanted to make sure he had that, and I wanted to make sure that you saw it as well. So, it was a win-win all around. And when it was done, Berenstain Publishing did some promotion for us, which I was really grateful for. And then I ended up doing a podcast with a gentleman named Phil Gonzalez. He does a podcast called Deep in Bear Country. So if you want to hear that, you can look up Deep in Bear Country anywhere you get your podcasts. And it's episode 316 that was released on November 6th, 2021. Meet the Berenstain's Uncommon Ephemera is the title. And we had a great conversation about that. And at that point, this unboxing was already waiting, ready to go. So by the time I was done with that, I was in that film strip for 7 or 8 weeks. And by the time I was done with that, and I took a bit of a break to clear my head, the holidays were right upon us. And that's a special kind of stressful, I think, for me and a lot of people. But we're here now, so let's do it. All right, well, we better start here. Adding time-based insult to time-based injury, Daniel Goodale Porter, who sent me a bunch of film strips and one record last time we did an unboxing, which feels like 6 years ago at this point. This package was on the way when I did that unboxing. And it's been here ever since, and I feel like a heel for not. When I did the last unboxing, he mentioned that he was going to send me some unusual or off the beaten path records that he wasn't using anymore, which of course is my, right in my wheelhouse. So. Try and be a little gentler than I was with his last shipment. Holy cow, that's a lot of records. At some point he probably told me what this was, but seeing as it was, feels like it was 11 years ago at this point, I don't remember. Wow. Okay. I don't think I can get this entirely in the frame. Macmillan Music. This is an educational set. Probably, obviously. Called Music and You. Oh, I see. Okay. You don't want that to... So this is some sort of... I wish I could get it all on camera. It's sort of a handled, pardon the pun, plastic case, and then a bunch of records come out the side, and I think the top, no, I thought that was a booklet, but it's not. So up here, we've got identifying so and me. That's called solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And it's a way of assigning these sort of one-syllable nonsense words to intervals of a musical scale. So this is, it says grade 2, so this is very, very basic music theory. Those are in, holy cow. Yeah, those are in pretty good shape. Wow. So this should be interesting, hopefully, because a lot of times if it's just musical selections that are not bookended by, awkward spoken lessons, doesn't make a great sort of off the beaten path record for in terms of putting it on the channel for purposes of, hey, look at this goofy thing, which is 70% or more of the mission statement, if you haven't noticed. So these look like they're in incredible condition. Record 8, record 9, looks like there's 11, and these are going to be individual records. I remember vaguely what some of these are. I had forgotten about that music theory education thing. Thank you for all the bubble wrap. I mean, this would have come in handy last year before I decided to stop selling on eBay. But you did send it to me last year, so that's on me. What I'm saying is that it would have come in handy if I'd actually done my job and done these when I was supposed to. I have at least one friend who is going to think this is amazing. The sound of Chaucer's English. So apparently, don't you love great artwork in a gatefold? I mean, so for instance, wow, that's in great shape. Daniel, you can send me all the records you want, because these are, you go thrifting and you get records, especially like old educational records or like film strip records. They look like they've been run over with a dump truck or dragged behind, down a dirt road. But that is just perfect shape. So, for instance, this side appears to have selections from Chaucer's poetry. So I assume, I don't know much about Chaucer. I am the dumbest person you are ever going to meet, at least until we go to TikTok. But I assume that this is going to be, yeah. So they are going to outline the differences in how English was spoken in Chaucer's time as opposed to how it was spoken now. It looks like on side 1 of this record, for instance, they're going to talk about how, consonant sounds are different and vowel sounds are different. And then on this side, someone is going to be reading from Chaucer's poetry as an example of what it sounded like to hear Chaucer's poetry the way Chaucer spoke English. And that's just the first record, ladies and gentlemen, because, oh God, this is a triple gatefold. Okay, so there's just the one intro, and then it's all selections from Chaucer's poetry, I believe. Cook Sound Effects, Volume 3 for amateur theatrical and motion pictures. The cool thing about old sound effects records is if they're old enough, you have heard every one of these sound effects in television shows and movies and radio plays and radio commercials and all of that. Yeah, this one's a little beat up, but I think that'll play just fine. And so not only can you appreciate it as a sound effects record, but you can say, oh, I remember, that's the car crash sound they used in, whatever. So I always like stuff like this. There was I don't even remember what I was watching. There was some sort of stupid musical car horn thing they were using because it was obnoxiously absurd, not because it was just a regular, and it was just in a recent thing that I was watching, and I was like, oh my God, I had that CD that sound effects CD when I was in high school, and it was old then. Like, it was a reissue of something that had been on vinyl, and that particular sound effect was so ingrained in my head that it was not a recreation. It was not a sound alike. It was not a coincidental thing. It was the sound effect. So I always enjoy these. Compatible super stereo, plays on any machine. I either used to have this, or somebody I knew had this. And this comes up on Reddit, on the nostalgia subreddit, all the time around Halloween. And it's funny because, like I said, I didn't remember completely what was in this box, and last year got away from me. And so it sort of serves me right that all this past Halloween, I was watching people post and repost and repost and repost a picture of this record on the nostalgia subreddit, and I'm going, man, I need to get a copy of this record and do a video so that I can just post the video on the nostalgia subreddit and get it over with. And meanwhile, it's sitting in a box in my office for the whole time. So this is 1964, and it's a Disneyland record, Walt Disney Productions. The old Disneyland logo. I can show you what I'm talking about. I think I have. Like, this is the one from when I was a kid, with the color bands behind. This is one of those read-along storybook records. Of course, the storybook is long gone, but if you need yourself a copy of Bippity Boppity Boo, there it is. So this is just pretty much a seasonal sound effects record. Okay, what else we got? Oh yeah, this is the other one that I was looking forward to. Popular Photography, I think, was a magazine, and Sound for a Picture Evening, background music and sound effects for slideshows and movies. This was a 1960s thing where they would sell you a record of movie-like music, thematic music, that would sound like something you would hear in a movie. And then you could, if you wanted to, you could sync it up with your home movies, which most of the time were silent at that point. I off the top of my head, I don't remember when Sound 8 or Super 8 Sound came out. Let's go through some of these. You get Grandiose. You get Sweet and Gentle, Dramatic, Epic Finale. I mean, you even got a Gay Party if you want to. Happy Birthday, Pomp of a Parade, Sound of a Carousel. And then at the end of side 2, there are a bunch of sound effects. So I love stuff like this because it's just schmaltzy and has that great sort of royalty-free on-hold music sound. I feel like I have this or something like it. This is an Audio Fidelity sound effects record, volume 9. I could be thinking that I have one of the volumes because they all had roughly the same cover. Fear not, we got a Ding Futzer. I have no idea. I don't have any idea what that is. So, well, it's nice of them to provide a picture, an illustration of the Ding Futzer on the back. That must be just an old word for like a big complicated contraption that doesn't actually do anything. Trying to remember to listen to the Ding Futzer. Everybody comment Ding Futzer below. Another Popular Photography, Sound for a Picture Evening Volume 2. Okay, good. Awesome. Music for time-lapse photography. It almost sounds like a Moby album that never got made. Liquidity, Music to Fly By, more sound effects. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We have the side 2. We have the problematic ethnic music. The strange tone scale of Japanese music and So when was this released? 1969. Yeah, so we're still smack dab in the, there's a good chance that that's all going to be, that sort of stuff. That is sort of that American idea of what other cultures' music sounds like, and not necessarily which is always kind of fun to explore. Yeah, looks pretty good. Oh dear God. Well, it's another sound for Picture Evening Volume 2. Wait, Volume 2? Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see that was Volume 3. The light was reflecting off of this wrinkle in the cellophane, and you could see that it was Volume 3, but I couldn't. So that's Volume 3, this is Volume 2. Okay, zoo noises. All right. These bass and snare drum sounds can be used for comic accents and spot sound effects, as Billy falls while skating or Sally's heart pounds like Ringo's drums as she gazes at a Beatle poster. Listen to this band at 16 RPM too for a special sound for creative uses. I'm sorry to say that I do not have a turntable that can play 16 RPM. Somebody send me a turntable that can play at 16 RPM, please. Yeah, that'll be Unboxing Ephemera Episode 4, scheduled to release in 2029. Okay. Environments. I have one or two of these. Dawn at New Hope, Pennsylvania. Okay. And then tintinnabulation, contemplative sound. So these were sort of like meditation records. You'd put it on and it was sort of just like a soundscape, like nature or some other sort of contemplative or meditative sound. This is interesting. The side one with this tintinnabulation thing, it says it's computer synthesized. So yeah, the sort of experiments in playing weird sounds at your brain to see if they had any sort of any effect, like the binaural beats apps that you can get now that are supposed to make the inside of your head resonate at 4 hertz, and it's supposed to make you drowsy or make you creative or whatever. These are always your mileage, may vary, but sometimes they're interesting and obviously a cultural artifact. Predecessor to those apps, obviously, sort of like I'm getting so old that now you have to say that the answering machine message tape is, you have to say that the answering machine was the predecessor to voicemail, and then you're like, God, kill me. Volume 4, sound for a picture evening. Good Lord. Okay, we just got to go through these. This is awesome. Oh no. This 70th annual meeting of the Benevolent Society for the Preservation of Ancient Rhymes and Limericks, held in camera in Society Chambers. Oh, I hope this is dirty. Well, you'll know what a limerick is, I'm sure, and if you don't, I'll tell you when you're older, or the man from Nantucket will. This might be interesting. So the first side is the proceedings to 11 p.m. Second side is after 1 a.m. I have a feeling the latter will be a little more ribald. That looks interesting. All of these look interesting, honestly. I thought I had a copy of this somewhere. If not, then this will come in handy. If so, this copy is probably in better shape. Oh, this is older than I think it is. Okay. Again, sound effects records, especially early stereo. Anything they could do to make stereo, sort of cheap stereo demonstration records. So, you go to some railroad tracks with 2 microphones and a tape recorder, and you sort of hang out and wait for a train to come by, and you hope he blows the whistle, And this is Audio Fidelity, and they were an early pioneer in stereo. I wonder if there's a year on this somewhere. 1958. So this is relevant and notable, like I said, because of the age and because Audio Fidelity was sort of doing these high-quality stereo demonstration records before anybody else, demonstrating stereo in this in this way was a thing, and it was a special thing because nobody had ever heard stereo reproduction like that off of a record before. So that was, it's sometimes hard it's hard to remember that given the options that we have today. But when this is all you had and it had been so far monaural, any color you want as long as it's black, right? Any number of channels you want as long as that number is 1. So this was a big deal. I have heard this. In fact, I may have an old copy of this on my channel. I don't even remember now. It would have been 6 years ago now. It would have been something I found somewhere, and then there's just like a static card up on the screen. If I sat down and wrote something about this, it would sound halfway competent, but I'm just going to come off sounding like a jerk just right here in the moment. But this is literally one of those things where Robert Redford so cared about the plight of the wolf and what we were allegedly doing to the wolf, if I remember correctly, because of course we're doing everything bad to everything, that he narrated this record about wolves that is sort of like it's sort of like a nature documentary on a record, and it's so earnest. He cares so much that it's like, I don't know. I don't want to be mean. It's just more information about wolves than anyone would ever want to know, told to you by the ordinary people guy while there's a constant howling of wolves in the background for 45 minutes or whatever. And it's just, it's well-intentioned, but it comes off as kind of absurd. And that's kind of what makes it funny. I don't know. Maybe it's not funny at all. Maybe I'm just a jerk. There's a lot of jerks with more than 2,400 followers. So smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. And lastly, we have one of the many records that was released with, if this is what I think it is, it's just the audio. Yeah, it appears that there's a narrator. How much he weaves himself into it, I don't know. This is a little scuffed up. I don't know if it'll play. I only mention that because there were so many of these that were released, because obviously going to the moon at the time was the greatest accomplishment of man to date. So people were doing whatever they could to commemorate it, and it didn't hurt that works of the U.S. government are in the public domain. And NASA is an arm of the United States government, so anything they do is in the public domain. So you can just get a copy of the mission control tapes, and you can cut a record, and you don't owe the U.S. government anything, and they can't come back and claim copyright on it. So what's funny about that is, so I had a similar record to this that had a skip on it that I couldn't fix no matter what I did. So I was going to put a record like this on my channel, but I couldn't, because I couldn't fix that skip. So I finally ended up getting rid of it. So hopefully, if this plays all the way through, I will be able to remedy that. However, what is interesting about recordings like this is you would think that because this is simply just a work of the United States government and therefore in the public domain, that I wouldn't have any problem with copyright when it comes to YouTube, when in fact the exact opposite is true. Here's why. Since the audio on here is in the public domain, I'm not the only person who thinks they can get away with using it without paying anybody anything. So what happens is a musician will take a bit of the NASA tape and sample it and use it in a song. And then they will distribute that song through a distributor such as, let's just say, CD Baby, because they're one of the worst offenders when it comes to this. CD Baby will then send copies of all the songs to YouTube, and YouTube will put them in their content match system. The content match system will scan my videos to see if the audio in my video matches any of the songs in the content match database. What ends up happening is, if I upload a copy of this record to YouTube for purposes of preserving the record, the original source, YouTube will detect the snippet of the NASA recording that the CD Baby artist used, and YouTube will claim that the entire song that the CD Baby artist used the sample in is in my video. And then when you go watch this video, they'll run a Liberty Mutual ad before my video, because is there any other ad that ever shows on any video ever on YouTube? And then they will take the revenue they get from that ad that played on my video, and they'll send it to CD Baby. Now, look, I'm a media preservationist. The channel isn't monetized, okay? And that's why Patreon is so important, and donations are so important. So I'm not in this to put up, somebody else's copywritten work like the sounds of Chaucer's English and try and make money off of somebody else's copyrighted work. But CD Baby doesn't own this, and therefore doesn't deserve ad revenue from a video showing this either. So there's a whole bunch of automated sort of money laundering going on, and I'm not big enough to do anything about it. So maybe somebody contact Rick Beato and see if he wants to say something on my behalf. Beato. All right, so let's put some of these on the turntable and check them out.
Identifying so, or 5, and me, or 3. Look in your book as you listen to a song about a train. Find the lines that look and sound the same.
Engine number 9, going down the railroad line. If the train goes off the track, will I get my money back?
Point to the lines that look and sound the same. If you are pointing to lines 1, 2, and 3, you are correct. The higher pitch is called so, or 5. The lower pitch is called me, or 3. Now sing the song using these pitch syllables. 1, 2, ready, sing.
So, me, so, me, so, me, so.
This time, let's sing the song using scale numbers. Remember, so is 5 and me is 3. 1, 2, ready, sing.
5, 5, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5. 5, 5, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5. 5, 5, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Selections from the Book of the Duchess and the Parliament of Fowls. Me thoughta thus, that it was May, and in the dawning he lay, me metta thus in me bed all naked, and looked forth, for he was walked with small foolis a great ape, that had afraid me out of me sleep, through noise and sweetness of her song. And as me met, they sat among upon me chamber off without upon the teals or all about and sungen, everych in his weeser the most solemnness visa be not, that ever man he trow had heard. For some of them sung low, some ich, and all of one accord. To tell a shortly, at all word, was never heard so sweet a staven, but it had be a thing of heaven.
You are a bold and courageous person, afraid of nothing. High on a hilltop near your home, there stands a dilapidated old mansion. Some say the place is haunted, but you don't believe in such myths. One dark and stormy night, a light appears in the topmost window in the tower of the old house. You decide to investigate, and you never return.
A younger man with a passion, quiet gingerly, tore a hole in his sister's vest gingerly. He slapped her behind and made up his mind to hit and sister, to insult and injure.
Did anyone miss a syllable there? This is hello, you have a lady here in the back?
I have a lady in the audience. I'm from too.
Is your name Susie girl?
There is no source.
There's no source.
No source. It's very old. No
Her name is
script.
Lynn. She's not well.
Not well at all. I'm 666.
She's from the east.
There was a young lady named Gloria who was had by Sir Gerald de Floria, and then by 6 men, Sir Gerald again, and the band at the Waldorf Astoria.
May we have your source?
My mother.
Seriously, this is nothing personal, but this is really redundant.
We're upstairs.
Then man showed up. Always, and the pattern never changes, man moves into the wolf's territory. When man arrived, he destroyed the wolf's natural prey, the buffalo, the moose, the caribou. He changed the habitat of the wolf and the wolf's prey, and he turned the lands over to his own defenseless beasts, the cow and the horse, sheep and goat. The wolf adapts. He kills and eats the only prey available to him, man's livestock. And while man fights back with guns and traps, snares and poisons, the wolf's only means of survival are his wits. So he learns to hide from man. He attempts to move away to other territory, away from the awful power of man. And so, once having the largest distribution of any large mammal in North America, today he is gone from all the United States but Alaska and part of the upper Great Lakes states. Even where he still lives, he is pursued because he kills deer, moose, caribou that man values for sport hunting. He lives and travels in his pack. With luck on his side, life lasts about 7 years.
Sputnik, the sound that shocked the free world. The date, October 4th, 1957. And that was the sound monitored round the world. It was Russia's Sputnik 1, the beginning of the space age. What did it mean, people asked. There was fear, awe, disbelief. Could Russia really have done it first? Why did the United States wait so long? But this country was not sitting idly by. Less than 4 months later, Explorer 1 was launched to the reaches of outer space. And the space race was on.
Wow, what can I say? Just a great collection, amazing collection of records. I want to do every one of these as a video. All of this stuff is just perfect. This is what the channel is about. As far as records are concerned, all of this stuff is great. It looks like this has more narration than the one I had. It looks like this is full-on, like, documentary. These Sound for a Picture evening records are fantastic. I'm a big fan of this library music type stuff from the period, and it's just awesome. This, even though it says Sound Effects Volume 3, I didn't notice down here, it says Volume 3 is incidental music. So this is all music, Volumes 1 and Volumes 2. are sound effects. And then volume 3 is incidental music or background music. So it's like the other ones, but a little more cheesy. So these are great, and the music in You seems like it's going to be great as well. This is an amazing collection, and I want to thank Daniel Goodell Porter again for sending this over, and apologize again for it taking so long to get to. This is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to making full videos for every record and getting these preserved the way they should be. All right, next up is Steve Caribbean is back with another donation. Steve is a Patreon supporter as well. Steve last year donated the You Would If You Loved Me sex education film strip set, which is about the weirdest sex ed film strip set I've ever seen. Most people didn't get it, but it was weird. This is from the same seller, and he drop shipped it directly to me. This guy has a lot of cool stuff. He went to a library discard sale and I think bought all of their film strips. But when we started buying stuff from him, like a normal person would think, oh, cool, somebody is buying my stuff, right? And so that's a good thing, right? No, this guy thought to himself, oh, somebody's buying my stuff. That must mean I priced it too low. So as soon as Steve bought You Would If You Loved Me, we had our eye on some other stuff, and he just jacked all of his prices. And we ended up losing out on some stuff that we really wanted. Could we have bought the stuff? Yeah, but we don't want to reward behavior like that, and I will not. So this was reasonably priced. Steve is interested in civics, and he is also interested in his kids getting a decent civics education. And so he grabbed this for the channel. I don't know if it's going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I'll get this open. I mean, the packaging is nice, but not, you know, he's got the nice little bag and everything, but it's definitely not worth the markup. There were some, like You Would If You Loved Me was $15 maybe, and the guy had two other film strip, sex ed film strip sets, and they suddenly went to $55 each. No way, man. So this was this was discarded from Moorhead State University, which I think is in Kentucky. So we've got basic parliamentary procedure. You think you get migraines. Look at that guy. That guy gets his face smashed into podiums quite a lot. So we have, okay, basically have two cassettes, two film strips, part 1 and part 2. You know, I'm kind of shocked how nice that looks. It's on LPP. I didn't realize because so much of the stuff that this guy got from Moorhead State was on Eastman color, which just goes red immediately. As you can see, those colors are nice and rich. Looks like it's never been used. I say that, and then but there's probably small bits of wear you can't see until you put it in a projector or a scanner. But it seems to be done in a sort of a line art style, which means it'll clean up real nice. There's not a whole lot of detail. There's just sort of very simplistic drawings colored in with solid colors, and those tend to clean up really well. So that's great. First thing I'm going to do is, well, wait a minute. I'm going to put this back just the way it was for a reason. So here we have perhaps the most uncreatively named film strip company in the history of the medium, Educational Film Strips in Huntsville, Texas. Don't hurt yourselves coming up with a name, guys. Okay, so we have audible advanced signal that side, and then this is automatic. So, same thing here. The tapes look like they're in you know, this whole set looks like it's in like new condition. I have to check let me check part 2 film strip. I have no doubt it'll look the same, and it does. That is going to be a joy to restore, I think. Yeah, it beats the heck out of color correcting and scratch removal and letting it go, that the cyan dye is gone and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's just going to be shades of red and green going forward. So this looks like this looks better than I thought it would be. Probably because I was just so focused on this particular eBay seller's sex ed film strips that were in such bad shape. It didn't even register in my head that this was in nice shape. Now, normally I would throw one of these in my Pioneer deck and we'd have a listen to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside for just a second, because I may be able to run this through the next donation that we have. You're going to have to bear with me here. I may just have to do this off camera. So I was contacted in September, when I was deep in bear country, by a Reddit user named All of My Onions. And he'd seen my channel and liked what he saw. And he said a couple years back, a friend of his gave him what he thought was a weird little TV, but it ended up not being a TV. And he said, "Do you want it?" So I said, "Yeah, send it over." Oh, this is bigger than I thought it was. Okay. 1 second. Oh, thank you, All of My Onions, and you're welcome. All right. This is still bigger than I thought it would be, and I'm not sure I'm quite set up for it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. 1 second. Okay. So this is a Duquesne AV-matic automatic film strip projector. And it is way bigger than I thought it was. These ranged in size quite a bit, so I didn't have an exact idea of how big this was going to be. All of My Onions said that it appeared to work, but they didn't have film strips, obviously, to test it with. So that's what we got to figure out now. Okay. So far, it sounds like the first 3 guitar amps I ever owned. So it probably needs new capacitors. There's another switch position to turn the lamp on. Please be good. Please be good. Please be good. Yes. So let's just see if this works. Get a film strip tape here. No, that doesn't appear to be turning at all. No fast forward, no rewind. However, the buttons being physical as opposed to, what they call full logic or soft touch means it's a simpler tape mechanism and probably easier to repair than my other tape decks, so maybe we can take a look at that at some point. And then depress fast forward button and push film in until film pulls into the first frame. So I can see the spoked wheels that grab the holes on either side of the film and pull it in, and it is right against them, and those buttons aren't doing anything. I just realized that there is a set of controls on the side that should be manually, So there is a way to manually pull the film strip through. You'd think we'd be seeing something. Let me turn the lights off. That's just my luck, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with the amplifier circuit in there. Just my lights. Now you see why I don't do a lot of ad-libbed videos, because that's how my luck is most of the time. Anyway, there has got to be a lens missing or something, because that won't focus up at all no matter what. Well, clearly we have a project on our hands if we want to. This would be nice to have for like a quick first look at new film strips that I get in, perhaps for Patreon supporters, because, scanning them and putting them together and doing all that stuff for a real nice high quality transfer is a lot of work. It increases the time between when I get something in and when you can see it. But at the very least, I have never serviced one of these things, but it's not like a smartphone where you need tens of thousands of dollars of specialty gear and microscopes and, the reflexes of a 19-year-old. These were typically built out of real parts and 1960s, 1970s era electronic components, which were still big enough to hold in your hand, and motors and gears and screws and nuts and bolts. So there's a better than average chance that, we could make some of this work. It concerns me that it doesn't focus at all, and that makes me think that it's missing a lens that it needs, and those are and a lot of times that's a specialty thing that you can't just go, where do you buy a lens for a film strip projector? You have to buy another film strip projector and take the lens off of it. So maybe we can find one that is broken in another way but has a perfectly good lens, and we can take the good parts out of two of them and make one of them that works. And of course, if you have a Duquesne AV-Matic that you don't need and you want to send over, by all means, please do so, because I could use a working one of these. I actually could. So I wanted to unbox that projector because I thought that maybe I could show you this basic parliamentary procedure film strip, or part of it, in that projector. Of course we couldn't, but the plot thickens additionally because I just put one of the tapes in my tape deck, and listen to this. That's either been poorly bulk erased or been stored near a magnetic field, a strong magnetic field, for a long time. Sort of the cyclical nature of how it comes in and out tells me that the magnetic field got 95% of the way through the reel of tape, but just that part of it is still kind of there as it unwinds from the tape. That's really too bad, because these films were in really good shape. I'll still scan them and preserve them, and if we ever run across the soundtrack for them again, I will definitely get them put together. I haven't checked the second tape yet, but I will here.
A member must be recognized by the chairman.
Yep.
Bill Jones has been nominated. Are there further nominations? Each time a nomination is made, the chairman should repeat the name of the person.
That sucks. Especially from a seller who, and it's my fault because, things got hectic and I didn't get to these, and we could have turned around and returned this, and Steve could have gotten his money back. So I apologize, Steve, but definitely not buying any more film strips from that guy, because not only does he price gouge, but he doesn't check the media before he lists it and sells it for inflated prices. So I feel really bad about that. I'm sorry, Steve. All right, one more. So right before Christmas, an old friend got in touch with me after many years of not being in touch. We'd lost touch, in quite a bit had happened in both of our lives since. So we had a lot of catching up to do over the holiday, and we did, and I mean, that's always cool, you know. Hey, what have you been doing? What have you been doing? You know, a lot had happened in my life. Cancer survivor, new homeowner. You know, I started this project since I talked to him, and he had no idea that I was doing this. We had to catch up about that, too. And he thought it was pretty neat. You go down a YouTube rabbit hole, you might as well go down your friend's YouTube rabbit hole, right? So, anyway, last week we were texting, and I was down in the workshop, and I was trying to diagnose a piece of gear for an upcoming thing I want to do on the channel that I haven't told you about yet. And we got talking about it, and I was telling him just in that moment how much it was sucking just in that moment to not have a piece of equipment called a vacuum desolder gun for easily removing and replacing components that might be faulty when you're trying to diagnose something of an electronic nature. And I was just talking, I was just complaining, you know, and I need somebody to complain. If you follow me on Twitter, you know, sometimes you just need somebody to complain to. But before I knew it, he messaged me back, and he says, it'll be there in a couple of days. And I'm like, what? You don't have to do that, good Lord. But he did, apparently. So, you know, thank you. You didn't have to do that. So this is from my friend Jamie, who is apparently making up for lost time, even though he didn't have to do that. With any luck, this hasn't been stored near any magnetic fields or missing a focus lens. That's a joke. The further I go into analog media preservation, the more I have to repair vintage electronics to keep them working. And you see that with the film strip projector. I'm going to have to get into that. Maybe replace some components or some capacitors or some motor drivers or something. And it's really important to be able to get those components off of circuit boards without damaging the circuit boards. And the way you do that is to have a vacuum desoldering pump. So I will forego demonstrating this in this video because I think I'm going to get right to something, and I will be shooting a video for that as well. But basically, the tip of this gets hot like a soldering iron, but there's a hole in the tip. So what you do is you put this around the pad on the circuit board the component is soldered to, and typically there is a small metal tube, for simplicity's sake, that goes all the way through the hole in the board that helps hold the component in the board securely, because the solder will bond to it and bond to the leg of the component. So it's difficult to get all that solder out of that hole in the board. So you put this down on it, and the heat of the tip melts the solder and gets it molten. And then you squeeze the trigger, and it causes a vacuum pump in this unit to turn on. And while the solder is molten and able to be manipulated, it sucks the solder through the tip into here and clears it out better than you could ever do without one. So it's not just about getting the component out, it's about getting the component out without damaging the circuit board, and also leaving that pad and that hole in a state where you can put that component back in if you need to, or put a new component back in, and it's like new after you do. This will go a long way to allowing me to maintain the gear that I have, and also hopefully bring things back to life, like the film strip projector here, and make it possible for me to continue doing what I do. So thank you very much, Jamie. This is going to come in very handy on a regular basis. And I appreciate it greatly. You didn't have to do this. So thank you again to Daniel Goodale Porter, Steve Garibian, all of my onions, and my hetero life mate Jamie for your donations. I appreciate it more than you know. Anything that can help me to keep preserving obscure media that has been forgotten is very appreciated. So we'll see you next time. Take care.